All right, so we've got this question here which says define the theory of labor supply and its application in workforce management. So, colleagues, we need to remember one thing first. Labor supply, it's from the workers. It's workers who supply their labor. Okay, then it's companies that demand the labor. All right. So this is basically the labor supply theory. It explains how workers decide the amount of time they are willing to offer for paid work at a given rate. Basically, how much time are you willing to offer if you're going to be paid a certain amount of money? That is what labor supply theory is about. All right. And remember, the higher the rate or the higher the wage rate, the more hours we are willing to put in. The lower the wage rate, the less hours we're willing to put in. If you remember the labor supply graph, it's upward sloping. Let's see here. Just put it like this. Yes, labor supply graph, upward sloping. You have your wage rate, you have your quantity here, or number of hours, basically. All right. The higher the wage rate, the more hours we are willing to put in. Power off. Okay, colleagues? Yes. So basically, when they say labor supply theories, how workers decide the amount of time, how many hours they are willing to put in, okay, the amount of time they are willing to offer for paid work at a given rate. All right. So basically, what it's just saying here, yeah, the theory says that workers compare the benefit of earning money with the benefit of having free time. So remember, there are two options as a worker. Okay, work or rest. Right? There are two options there. All right. So as a worker, you're going to see which benefit is more to you. Okay. If if you need money, you're going to work more and have less free time. You're going to sacrifice the free time for work. But once you've got a lot of money and you're rich, you would want to substitute your work with your free time. Okay. So now this is how this applies in workforce management. Okay. This theory helps employers plan work schedules. All right. Because they know that, okay, um, well, this is the amount of time the workers need to work. If it's 7 hours a day, 8 hours a day, depending on what rate you're paying your workers. All right. Yes. So you can decide as an employee. Right. If you're offering to pay workers 20 kwacha per hour, then you can now, and you've seen workers are ready to work for you, you can now know, okay, how much time do I need them to work for me? Okay. That is planning schedules. Okay. Also, overtime. All right. Remember, overtime, when workers work over their expected hours of work, right, then you have to pay them extra for that. All right. Yeah. So it's helping employers plan work schedules, overtime, shifts, leave days, and flexible working hours. Okay. So, for example, banks in Zambia can use labor supply theory to understand whether employees prefer longer working hours with more pay or shorter working hours with more personal time. Yes. Any questions, colleagues, regarding to this question which we've answered, the theory of labor supply and its application in workforce management? Okay, let's go to part B. Describe four factors influencing labor supply in the Zambian banking sector. Okay. Well, one major factor that will influence labor supply is the wage rate and also allowances. Okay. As I said, higher wages or higher pay is going to attract workers, right? Lower pay or lower wages, workers won't be attracted to you. Okay. So this wage rate is one of the main factors that affect labor supply, right? We saw there was a positive relationship between the wage rate and the number of hours a worker is willing to work. So this wage rate and allowances will have an effect on supply. Higher wage rate, more supply. Lower wage rate or lower pay, low supply. Okay. Are we okay with this first point? Okay, good working conditions. All right. Yes. Colleagues, as workers, all right, one of our expectation is where we're going to work is a safe place and it's not a hazardous place. It's not a dangerous place. The conditions where we're working are good. All right. This is one reason why people also want to work. Okay. They're expecting where they should be working, they're good conditions. So the better the conditions that are there for the work, the more labor supply that's going to be there because workers will be willing to work knowing that where they're working, conditions are well. But if the conditions are bad, okay, the conditions are bad, where you even know yourself that, okay, if I get myself into this job, I'm going to be suffering. You won't want to enter that job, okay? Whereas if that job is even paying a low salary, okay? I can give an example of, let's say, we see the garbage collectors here in Zambia, right? We see the conditions that they're working in. Those are very terrible conditions. Okay. So such a trade is not going to, not a lot of people want to work as a garbage collector. All right. The conditions, not only the pay might not be good, but basically the conditions of the work. All right. Yes. Even working in the mortuary. Okay. The conditions are, we know not everyone would want to even work in a mortuary. Okay. And worse if the conditions are even bad at that mortuary. How do you think people won't even want to work there? All right. But if it's a workplace where there's a swimming pool, they offer you lunch, you know, they're offering you safety, okay, anyone would want to work in such a place. Okay. Yes. So better conditions, more labor supply. Bad conditions, lower labor supply. Any questions? Okay. Education. Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Education, education skills and professional qualifications. Yes. So certain jobs require certain qualifications. The more qualifications the job requires, the lower the labor supply because not anyone can just do that job. Okay. For example, if the job requires you to have a master's or a PhD, not a lot of people would be able to do that job. They would like to do that job, but they are not able to do that job. So labor supply is going to be low. Okay. But if a job doesn't require any qualifications or skills, all right, then majority people are going to do that job. Okay, because it doesn't require any qualifications or skills. So the pool of workers is going to be huge. Okay. Yes. Any questions? So the more skills that are required or the more professional qualifications, the pool of labor supply will be low. Okay. theoretically, because most job qualifications, the market is saturated. There are so many people looking for certain jobs, all right? Wouldn't and more people are getting qualifications and entering, so you can find that the labor supply is actually increased. For example, nurses, accountants, engineers. Okay, yes, but theoretically, the more qualifications or the more skills that are needed, there will be a lower labor supply. The less qualifications and skills needed, there will be a greater labor supply. Are we okay with that? Yes, work-life balance and family responsibilities. Yes, so certain jobs, all right, you cannot maneuver with your work life and your family responsibilities. They might take a lot of your time. Okay, they might take majority of your time. You might not be home for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, all right, because you're doing a certain job, or maybe your job requires you're always knocking off at 23 hours. Okay, so such jobs with those conditions where you know it's going to affect your work and your it will affect basically your life, your and your daily activities, and also your family responsibilities. Certain jobs like that, you wouldn't want to join into them. Okay, for example, being a guard who guards at night. Okay, it means every day 18 hours. Yeah, you go for work 18 hours, you come home 6 hours. All right, so you find you'll be missing a lot of family time, and also a lot of schedules of yours will be affected. Okay, so such a job, not a lot of people are going to want to do such a job. Okay, even like for let's say if we look at professional wrestling, those people are rarely at home. They're always on the road. Okay, they're always on the road. They're not with their families. They get to miss family activities because their job is a demanding job. Okay. So basic what we can say is demanding jobs which are going to affect your work and life balance and your family responsibilities. Theoretically, the labor supply is going to be low because no one wants to do that. You want to have a job where you knock off 17 hours, you're able to enjoy the weekends, you're able to have do your family responsibilities. Such jobs, the labor supply is going to be high because basically everyone wants such a kind of job. Okay. But if you're, let's say, a job, maybe a bartender at a club, you find your work and life balance will be affected because you're working from 18 till into the morning. So yes, so jobs that are demanding and will affect a normal life and normal family responsibilities, the labor supply is low. But regular jobs where you'll be able to manage your work life, your social life, your family responsibilities, then supply will be high because those are the kind of jobs everyone is basically looking for. Yes. Any questions? Using a diagram, explain the effect of work leisure preferences on the labor supply decisions. All right. Yes. So we're talking about work and leisure preferences. So I'll refer to this backward bending supply curve. Okay. We have two effects here, the income effect and the substitution effect. Okay. So remember this, colleagues. Substitution effect, all right? You give up leisure to work more hours. You substitute leisure with working. Okay, that is substitution effect. That's why you can see here, if we look at this graph, the bottom half, right, we're saying substitution effect is greater than the income effect. As you can see, as the wage is increasing, what the worker is putting in more hours. Have you seen? The worker is putting in more hours, substituting the leisure for work. So they're putting in more hours, more hours, more hours, more hours, more hours. All right? Yes, because the substitution effect is great. You would rather work than rest. Okay. Now, once this person has been promoted and has become a boss, all right, they're not going to be incentivized to put in more hours. They're not going to want to now rest. Okay, that's why now the curve is going backwards here. Okay, because now as your salary is increasing, as since you're becoming a boss and you're getting top positions and your salary is increasing, you will now want to rest more and work less. That's the income effect, where you want to rest more and work less. Okay. So this all depends on the preference of the person. Okay. If the person says that, okay, I'm still a boss, but I have to continue working, then they can put in more hours. Okay. Because they prefer to work more. But for other people, they will say that, okay, since I'm now making as much money as I'm getting more money, let me rest more. Let me see. Okay. So they'll prefer the leisure. Yeah. Oh, colleagues, just excuse me for 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. Okay, yes, colleagues. Where was I? Yes, we're still on this question here. The bending supply curve. So just remember, substitution effect, you're working more, okay, so that you can earn more. You don't want to rest. Income effect, you're now rich. You want to rest more. You don't want to work more. Yes. So that is what this graph is telling us. Any questions? So as you can see, substitution effect, low wages. When wages increase at low levels, work becomes more attractive. Leisure becomes more expensive. Workers choose to work more hours. Okay? Because you're earning money. All right. That's why other people they're also putting in overtime. Okay, because you need as much money as you can get. So you even be putting in overtime. But when you get promoted, okay, and your wages now increase, okay, would you won't want to be putting overtime, all right? You want to now rest. You want to start enjoying the fruits of your labor, okay? So income effect. When wages become very high, workers already enough earn enough income. They prefer more free time, leisure, so they reduce working hours. second. Yes.